The story begins by introducing Marissa Wilson, a secret agent working for the OSS, the Organization of Super Spies. At that moment, she is tracking down a criminal named TikTok, who is trying to buy a mini-disc stolen from the agency. The most surprising thing is that Marissa is 9 months pregnant, yet she continues working like nothing is wrong. When TikTok tries to escape, Marissa goes after him, but suddenly she starts having intense contractions. Without wasting any time, she calls her husband Wilbur, a famous television host who has no idea that she is actually a spy, since he believes she works as an interior designer. Marissa quickly tells him that the baby is about to be born and asks him to meet her at the hospital. After hanging up, she enters an abandoned building alone and easily defeats TikTok's men. Shortly afterward, her boss, Danger Diamo, arrives with the police and they finally arrest the criminal. After completing the mission, Marissa decides to retire so she can spend more time with her family. Later, she arrives at the hospital, where she reunites with Wilbur and his children, Rebecca and Cecil. Soon after, their daughter Maria is born. 1 year later, the whole family is having breakfast together, except for Wilbur, who remains completely focused on his television show called Spy Hunter. He assures his children that if the show continues to succeed for 5 more years, he will finally spend all his time with them afterward. But Rebecca and Cecil are already tired of hearing him make the same promise over and over again. That night, Cecil asks his father if he has ever managed to catch a real spy, and Wilbur admits that he still has not. Meanwhile, Rebecca continues struggling to accept Marissa as her stepmother. Even though they have been living together for 2 years, she still misses her real mother deeply and keeps her distance from Marissa. Later, Marissa enters the children's room and gives Rebecca a photograph of her biological mother, something that manages to cheer her up a little. She then tries to grow closer to her and tells her that even though they are different, she hopes they can get along. After that, she gives Rebecca a very special necklace with a huge red sapphire, a jewel that Marissa's own parents gave her when she was Rebecca's age. Although Rebecca seems happy at first, one of her jokes soon goes too far and ends up making Marissa angry. Meanwhile, Wilbur continues obsessing over finding a spy for his show. At that moment, Marissa enters the room, and together they watch an alarming news report on television. Scientists all around the world have discovered that time itself seems to be speeding up. Hours pass like minutes, and seconds disappear almost instantly. Then, a mysterious criminal known as the Timekeeper appears and takes credit for everything that is happening. He claims that he plans to unleash a project called Armageddon as punishment for a society that wastes its time on meaningless things instead of enjoying it with the people they love. Standing behind the Timekeeper is TikTok, something that deeply worries Marissa. But for Wilbur, this all seems like the perfect opportunity to become famous. Shortly afterward, the Timekeeper orders TikTok to recover the Chronos Sapphire, a powerful jewel that turns out to be the very same stone embedded in the necklace Marissa gave Rebecca. The next morning, the OSS contacts Marissa and asks her to hand over the sapphire immediately. At the same time, Rebecca writes a letter apologizing for the prank from the night before. Moments later, Marissa enters the room and asks about the necklace. Rebecca, still upset, gives it back to her inside a small box. Before leaving, Marissa asks Argonaut, the family dog, to watch over the children while she leaves the house with little Maria. But shortly afterward, TikTok and one of his accomplices arrive at the house searching for the Chronos Sapphire. Suddenly, a secret alarm goes off, warning Rebecca and Cecil that they must immediately head to a panic room. Rebecca thinks it is all just a prank. But seconds later, intruders break down the front door of the house. The two siblings quickly run to the hidden room, where they find a video recorded by Marissa explaining the truth about her job as a spy. That is when they discover something even more unbelievable. Argonaut is not a normal dog, but a robotic dog created specifically to protect them. To their complete surprise, the dog suddenly starts talking to them. Argonaut quickly tells Rebecca and Cecil to sit in a pair of special chairs, just as the panic room begins coming under attack from the outside. Seconds later, the chairs transform into some kind of secret jet, and the children are launched straight out of the house. However, the enemies immediately begin chasing them. While they are flying, Marissa's automatic system starts giving them instructions on how to safely pilot the vehicle. The problem begins when Cecil gets motion sickness and opens a window to throw up. This gives the attackers the perfect chance to try stealing Rebecca's necklace. Even so, Cecil reacts quickly and throws a few vomit bags at them, causing one of the pursuers to lose control and crash. He then keeps throwing the remaining bags, distracting all the enemies long enough for them to escape. At that moment, Argonaut contacts Marissa and tells her what happened. She orders him to take the children directly to the OSS headquarters, where they will be safe. When they arrive, they are greeted by Carmen, Marissa's niece, who gives them a tour of the facilities. Carmen takes them to the old room where she and her brother Uni first began their missions as child spies. There, Rebecca and Cecil discover several amazing gadgets, although none of them seem to work yet. Afterward, Carmen leaves them alone for a moment while she returns to work. Meanwhile, Marissa successfully infiltrates TikTok's hideout to keep a close eye on him. However, he quickly realizes she is there and sends several men to stop her. Even so, Marissa defeats all of them within seconds, forcing TikTok to escape once again. At the same time, Rebecca and Cecil start getting excited about the idea of becoming spies themselves. Since the gadgets still will not activate, they decide to sneak out on their own to find the timekeeper. When the OSS staff notices that the children are out of control, they assume the kids entered restricted areas and begin chasing them using advanced security technology. Despite that, Rebecca and Cecil manage to escape by outsmarting all the agents. Soon after, they discover a secret room filled with information about the timekeeper. There, they learn that nobody has been able to locate his hideout. However, Cecil notices that the letters are scrambled and manages to uncover the location, a clock shop. Using several tools and clever tricks, the siblings escape the facility and finally arrive at the mysterious clock store. Meanwhile, Carmen realizes that the children have disappeared and immediately calls Marissa to warn her. Inside the clock shop, Rebecca and Cecil discover a hidden door leading to a secret room. To enter, they must pass through a massive rotating mechanism filled with giant gears, but after a lot of effort, they manage to make it through. There, they find an old documentary video telling the story of an experiment carried out in the 1930s by a scientist named Wells. During the experiment, a device connected to the Armageddon project accidentally froze a young boy in time. Decades later, that same boy managed to escape thanks to a sapphire crystal. At that moment, Rebecca realizes that the villains have been after her necklace from the very beginning. The siblings immediately try to escape, but TikTok suddenly appears and takes them straight to the timekeeper himself. The villain demands that Rebecca hand over the necklace, and the situation quickly becomes extremely dangerous. Luckily, Marissa and Carmen arrive just in time. A massive fight immediately breaks out between the spies and the timekeeper's forces. In the middle of the chaos, Rebecca and Cecil's gadgets finally activate, allowing them to join the battle and defeat several enemies. At the same time, Wilbur arrives at the building with his cameraman while using a spy detector. When he sees the fight unfolding, he decides to record everything, hoping to broadcast the footage and become famous. During the battle, Argonaut manages to take down several henchmen, but more and more enemies keep appearing. Realizing that the situation is getting worse, Marissa orders the children to escape immediately. As they flee, TikTok takes advantage of the distraction and successfully steals Rebecca's necklace. Marissa leaves the children under Carmen's protection and quickly goes after the villains. On the way, Wilbur excitedly calls her to say that he managed to record the entire battle inside the clock shop. The moment Marissa hears that, she becomes extremely worried and hangs up immediately. Later, Wilbur shows the footage of the fight to the executives of his television show. But while reviewing the video, he notices something shocking. His own wife and children are fighting like secret spies. Completely stunned and furious, he spills coffee onto the computer and destroys the original recording before anyone else can see it. Even so, his bosses react badly to the incident and fire him on the spot. After gathering his belongings, Wilbur leaves the building. Later on, he meets Marissa and little Maria, who are waiting for him outside. Marissa tries to apologize for hiding the truth from him for so long, but Wilbur is far too upset about all the lies. She explains that she never planned to tell him because she retired from the OSS the very same day Maria was born. She then asks for another chance, but Wilbur replies that he needs time to process everything he has just discovered before walking away. Meanwhile, time across the entire world continues speeding up more and more. Back at the OSS, the agents finally uncover the full truth behind Wells's experiment. They reveal that the Armageddon device is stored inside the organization's highest security area, the mysterious Level 13. Danger Damo explains that if the device falls into the wrong hands, it could bring about the end of the world. Among the agents sent to stop the timekeeper is Uni, Carmen's brother, from whom she has been estranged for years. When Carmen is handed her agent badge once again, she throws it to the ground because she is still resentful that Junie disappeared for so long. Soon afterward, all the spies leave on their mission to find the villain. Before leaving, Danger approaches Rebecca and Cecil to congratulate them for what they did earlier. Then he tells them something strange: to cherish the time they have with their family while they still can. As Danger walks away, Rebecca notices that the watch he is wearing looks almost identical to the timekeeper's. Then Cecil discovers something even stranger. Danger's name is actually a word puzzle connected to Armageddon. At that moment, Danger suddenly slams the door shut and reveals the truth. He is the timekeeper. After exposing his identity, he locks the children inside the room and quickly escapes. At the same time, Marissa, Carmen, and Junie arrive at the clock shop. Rebecca and Cecil manage to call them and warn them that Danger is the real villain, but Marissa assumes it is just another one of their jokes and hangs up without taking it seriously. Shortly afterward, Danger removes his mask in front of everyone and confirms that he truly is the timekeeper. He then reveals that the Armageddon device is hidden inside the OSS headquarters and that his henchmen are already on their way to steal it. Afterward, he activates a hidden circuit inside the agents' badges, freezing them in time one by one. However, Junie manages to save himself because Carmen had thrown away her badge moments earlier, so the device does not affect him. Junie quickly rushes to help Rebecca and Cecil, while Argonaut breaks down the door of the room and frees the children. Afterward, Junie removes the badges from Marissa and Carmen, restoring their ability to move. Meanwhile, Cecil tries to enter level 13 to recover the Armageddon device, but the moment he opens the door, he discovers a deadly security system and immediately shuts it again. Rebecca then comes up with a plan: pretend to surrender so they can get close to Danger. Right at that moment, TikTok and several henchmen appear and capture the children. At the same time, Wilbur is sitting alone watching television when he receives an unexpected call from Argonaut. The robotic dog informs him that Rebecca and Cecil are in danger and begs him to go save them. Meanwhile, the children are brought before Danger, who finally reveals the full truth about his past. He explains that his father was the scientist responsible for Wells's experiment, and that the boy frozen in time was actually himself. After the accident, his father spent years desperately trying to find a way to free him, but he never succeeded and eventually died. Many years later, scientists discovered the Chronos Sapphire, a mineral that came from a meteorite and possessed special properties. Thanks to that stone, Danger was finally freed from frozen time. But when he woke up, he discovered that everyone he had ever known and loved had already died decades earlier. Since then, his only wish has been to travel back to the past so he can reunite with his father and recover the lost time they never had together. And to achieve that, he plans to use the Armageddon device to travel through time. After hearing Danger's entire story, Cecil reaches an important conclusion. The villain has already attempted to travel through time many times before, and every attempt has only made things worse. He then realizes that TikTok and every member of his gang are actually different versions of Danger created during those failed time travel attempts. Understanding the pain he feels, Rebecca tries to reason with him. She tells him that instead of obsessing over gaining more time, he should learn to make the most of the time he still has. But Danger steps into the massive time vortex created by the Armageddon device. This time, the journey appears to work, most likely because the Chronos Sapphire merges with the portal and stabilizes the process. However, only a few seconds later, Danger reappears in the exact same place, now transformed into a much older version of himself. At that moment, he finally accepts that Rebecca and Cecil were right all along. He realizes that he cannot change the past, and that his father will remain dead no matter how many times he tries. Before giving up, he leaves them with one final message. People should not stay trapped living in the past, but instead move forward and make the most of their lives by looking toward the future. At that moment, TikTok tries to interfere once again, but Wilbur appears and finally manages to stop him. Shortly afterward, he reunites with Marissa and the children, reconciling with the entire family. When TikTok attempts to escape again, little Maria shocks everyone by revealing that she inherited special abilities, striking him with incredible strength and smashing him into the ground. At the end of the movie, Carmen and Junie announce that they are starting a new Spy Kids program to train young spies, and their very first recruits will be Rebecca and Cecil. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know what you think about this movie.